Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another WordPress tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about how to properly submit your contact form. In one of my previous videos, I showed you guys how to create a contact form. And whenever I make a video like this, I want to do the basics of the video or the basics of the code so that you guys can build upon it. I want to make it as easy as possible for beginners to understand and build upon that. Now, if you're more advanced, some of the stuff that I show in my videos is probably basic for you, and it's not the full code because there's so much that you can do with the code, and there's so many different options. So I usually try to show the basics so that you guys can build upon it. Now, whenever I built that contact form on that other plugin, then I'll link that plugin up here. I had it just submitting to the same page. Now, that's not best practice because if someone refreshes that page, it will resubmit that form. Now, I just did that so that you could see how it worked. But in this video, we're going to talk about we're going to go through the whole process again. We're going to create a contact form. I'm not going to go into reCAPTCHA and all that kind of stuff, but we're going to create a simple contact form and have it submit to a process page. And then that process page will redirect you to the thank you page. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to walk you through the steps of how to create a contact form, how to submit it to a process page, and then that process page will redirect us to a thank you page. All right, so let's get started. So we're here on the ideapro.io website that we do all of our testing and plugins and give examples and stuff like that. And we've got our ideapro.io code open here. So we're going to create a new file, and this is going to be a standalone plugin. We're going to open up, actually we're going to save it. We're going to save it into our WP content plugins folder. We're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it form example. And that's our folder name. And then our actual code, our actual PHP name is going to be formexample.php. And we're going to save that. And now my system automatically uploads it to the server. I use WFT Bond. I always link it in the description below. And I'm using Sublime as my text editor. So it makes it really easy for me to work on sites if it automatically uploads whenever I get done. Now, if we're working on customers' files, we're doing that most of the time on a dev or a staging area. We're not doing it on their live website. Sometimes we do, it just depends on what we're doing. Of course, this is a testing site, so it's not that big of a deal. On our PHP page, we're going to open some PHP tags. Oops, let me get rid of that. Just wanted to get rid of that space there. And here at the top, we're going to put in a comment. We're going to say plugin name, and this is going to be form example process submit. All right. And we're going to add a description just so we know what it is. Description, form example, process submit. That makes sense, right? Description. We'll just add description. That way you guys can see where that description actually goes. And then we're going to close out our comments here. There we go. So this is, if you're not familiar with my plugins before, or my videos before, this is how simple it is to create a new plugin. All we need at the top is plugin name and description. Now, that's for if you're building it for your own website, or if you're building it for a client's website that you know you're probably going to be the only developer on it. It's not for production, for like adding it to the store and stuff like that, the WordPress store. If you do that, you need a lot more stuff up here in the top. You need the author and the version number and all that. But if we're just building it for our website or a client's website that we know that plugin is not going to go bigger than their website, you can just simply put in just a name and a description there. If you want to put in an author, you can do that. Again, we're going to save that. We're going to go over to our site here. We're going to go to plugins. And here is our form example process submit plugin. So we're going to activate that. All right. So here on our code, now we need to do a couple of things. One, we need to build a form. We need to build the process page that the form submits to. And then when we build the form, we're actually going to build it in a function and call it as a shortcode. That way we can add it to our website. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write a function, and this is going to be our form include. Okay. So down here we can do add shortcode. And I have not planned this video out at all. So if I mess up, just bear with me, okay? So in here, we're gonna say add shortcode, and then what we want that shortcode to be called on the page or plugin that we add it to, all right? So we're just gonna say form example. And then we're gonna copy this because this is our callback, okay? All right, so that's our function to include the form on the website. Now, you can use this function here to put that into, the actual theme files of the website if you've built the theme yourself, or if you're using a child theme, you can also do that. It's usually easier just to add it as a shortcode. That way you can put it on a contact page or, wherever you want, on a menu bar, on a sidebar or something like that. But we'll get into that in just a minute. All right. So now when we're making a shortcode, we always want to return the data. And I've talked about shortcodes in other videos. And basically, if we do echo welcome to our page, and then we include that shortcode form example on a page or a post, it's going to break the site, especially with the new Gutenberg editor, because a shortcode should not echo anything out to the page. It shouldn't print any information out to the page. If we wanted that shortcode to print that out, we could change echo to return. And now what that'll do is it'll return this message, and the actual shortcode is what will print it to the page or echo it out to the page, right? So for our form, we're going to create a variable up here. Let's make some comment. So we're going to say create a variable to hold the HTML information, right? And for information. It's always good to have a comment above everything that you do so that if you come back and you need to work on it or someone else needs to work on it, they understand what it is. All right. So we're going to create a variable called content, and that's going to be with 2 single quotes so that it is a string. So let's put creates a string variable. All right. So now down here, we can return that content variable. And what that's going to do is anything that we put in content is going to be returned to the shortcode here, and then the shortcode's actually going to print it out on the page. All right. So here we're going to do content dot equals, and everything that we do from here on is going to be content dot equals, and that's going to concatenate the string. It's going to continue to add on to that string so that it's one long string of HTML that creates our form on the front end of the website. Okay. So, and we can do that here. Adds to the string variable. Let's just leave it like that. All right. So in here, what we want to do is we want to actually open up our form and say method is equal to, and we're going to say post on this, and then action is equal to, and then we can close that off. Let's come down here a little bit, and we're going to create a comment that says just close the form tag. All right, so we can say content dot equals, and then we are going to close off that form tag. All right, and we can put a comment up here, open, open the form tag. Okay, so now we've opened our form tag here, we've closed our form tag, and this action is what we really want to send that process to, right? So we're going to create a whole new process page that processes the submit. Okay, so we're going to create a new page, and we can save this page. Now I like to put it in its own little folder, and so we're in the form example here. We're going to create a new folder, and we call it process. And so the folder is process, and then the file name we're going to call index.php. And I'll show you why I do that here in just a second. Okay. So now here on our plugin page, we're in the plugins directory. We're in that over here in plugins, WP content, plugins. We're in this form example plugin here. So the way to get that process page pulled in that we can submit to is we're going to do ... and basically what that does is it puts us into a place that we can call in a variable. So we're going to say plugin directory URL, and then some open and close brackets. And then inside here, we're going to do __dir __. So what that's going to do is it's going to give us the directory of the plugin path. Okay. So just so you can see what the example is here, we're going to save it. We're going to put this form example on a page on our website. So we're going to go to pages. What do we have on the front page? Can we add it to the front? Yeah, let's add it to the front. All right, so let's go to the front page here. And we're going to add it just right above this picture. I think we will. There we go. So we're going to add a short code. And we're going to put some square brackets and then form _ example. And we're going to update. Now on our page here, we're going to refresh, and we know it's right here above this picture, but it doesn't say anything or show anything. Okay, so what we want to do really quick, just so we have something that we can see, we're going to create a quick input field. Input type is equal to text, name is equal to, then we're going to close it off. Name is equal to your name. Let's just do that. And placeholder is equal to your full name. Okay. All right. So let's save that, go back over here and refresh. So now we have your full name here, and we can inspect this and we can look at what our actual form action submits to right here. So see how this says ideapro.io WP content plugins. Okay. So by using this directory tag here, we've actually went all the way back to the plugins folder, which we don't want to do. And the reason why it does that is because this file here is in the root of our plugin folder. So it's going to take us out of that folder and put us into the previous directory folder. So we actually want to change this to _ file because this is in the root of our plugin folder. Now, if this was in a file inside of your plugin that was a secondary file in a secondary folder, like a functions folder, right? Then you could use directory and it would take you out of that into your plugins folder, which then you could do from there. I know that's probably kind of confusing a little bit. So right here, we're going to use file, and then we're going to save this. We're going to come back over here. We're going to refresh this page. And now if you look, we have WP content plugins form example is where we're now going to be submitting to. So now it puts us into that plugin folder by using _ file _ okay. So if you see here, we have form example and then a slash. So to get into our process directory, we're just going to say process. and then we're going to use a slash after that. Now, we don't have to put in process slash index.php because PHP already looks for the index.php when we submit to just that process folder. So we're going to take that out and we're going to hit save. We're going to come back over here and we'll refresh our page. And now if you look, we have here ideapro.io, content, plugins, form example, process. So that's where we're going to be submitting it to. All right. So now we're going to come back over here to our index.php, which is our process index.php. We're going to open some PHP tags. Now, I use this in a lot of my plugins to, and I don't call it process, sometimes I call it different things, to send a lot of information. So if we're building stuff that is a back-end area, we can build everything to submit to this process page. It keeps a lot of the code clean from putting stuff everywhere. And it also gives us the ability to, whenever there's something that goes wrong, we can come to this index.php page and see and find that process really, really quickly. All right. So now that we're going to be submitting to this page, we need to call in the WP load function from the root of our WordPress website. So we could do require once, and then we know that we're in a subfolder of our plugin, so we could do .. that gets us out of process. Then we could do .. that gets us out of form example folder. Then we do .. that gets us out of the plugins, and then .. gets us out of the WP content folder. And then we say WP load.php. So as that is a way that you can do it, that's not the way I would prefer to do it, because if someone moves that WP content folder, then you have an issue where one of these might be missing, or it may be an extra one in there that you need, and it could break. So the best way to do it is we're going to pull this out. We're going to say $path dot and then WP load. All right. So what that path is going to be is we're going to come up here and we're going to do path is equal to, and we're going to use a function called preg replace and some parentheses here. And so now in this function, we've got a couple arguments that we need to put in there. All right. So we're going to do a couple single quotes, a comma, and a couple of single quotes. All right. So these are the two pieces that we need to add to our preg replace function. And the first one is, actually we need three of them because we need to replace what we want to replace with. Okay. So here in this first, so we're going to do a slash WP content, and then we're going to do a $$ Now what that does is it looks for the WP content and anything after that to remove from our path, right? And so then here in the second one, we're going to leave that blank because that's what we want to replace this section here with. So we're going to leave that blank. And then this one, we're actually going to take out these double quotes and we're going to use the dir constant. And that's a constant like we use on the previous page that says the directory is the root. The directory is the where we're working with. Okay. So now if we do path.wpload.php, that will bring in the WordPress function. All right. So we're going to save that. Now what we want to do is we want to say form include. So what we want to do is we want to say if, now this is just a test to make sure that our actual page here is going to work. And we're going to say function exist. And we're going to just put in that form include here in single quotes. So if function exists, echo welcome to the process page. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to that page. So we're going to say WP content, slash plugins slash form example slash process slash index.php. We don't have to put in the index.php, but we're going to just as an example. All right, so welcome to the process page. Now, if we would have messed up and not included this correctly, or not done this correctly, this would not work down here. So let's say we had something in here where we did a replace it with hello, right? And we come back over here and we refresh. Now it's going to say the page isn't working because we've got an error, all right? So we know that we've written this code correctly and require once this is bringing in that WP load. We know that WP load is working because it's bringing in our function from our plugin here. Okay, so now that we know this page is working, we can actually delete this code and save that because we know that this page is working. We'll refresh that. So now it's just a blank white page because we don't have it showing anything. All right, so now in here, we're going to write our form, a little bit more information in our form, and we're going to submit to that through this method or this action here. And then we're going to process it on this page. Okay, so we've got our text here for your name. And again, I'm going to make this super, super easy. I don't want to get into a lot of different code here. So we're going to say the next one is going to be email. And we're just going to call it your email. And then we're going to say for the placeholder, enter your email address. Now adding this break at the end will just bring that, that input field to the next line because we don't want to go through styling and all this stuff on the video. So here we're going to do another content dot equals, and we need a submit button. So we're going to say input type is equal to submit. Name is equal to, okay, so here's where our unique stuff is going to start happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to say form example contact submit. Okay, and then the value is going to be submit your information. All right, so now if we save that, we come back over here to our actual page, our front page here. Come down here. Now we have your name, your email address, and submit your information. Okay, like I said, we're not adding style to this. We just want it to be a very basic form. We will add another break to kind of separate these just a little bit. And we'll add a couple of breaks after this just to get it away from some of the other information. Okay, so we come back over here, we reset. And so now we have your name, your email address, and submit your information. Okay, so now we need to take the name of the submit function here, copy that, and we're going to come over to our process.index.php page, and we're going to say if, and open up some brackets here, whoops, is set $_post, and inside of here, we're going to put in that function submit. So basically that's saying, if it's coming to this page, the process index.php page, and the post is set for form example contact submit, because that is the name of our contact button here, then it's going to process the information inside of this function. Okay. All right. So inside of here now is what we can process that information and do something with the contact form information that came through. Okay, so we're going to do that really quick, and we're going to submit it through an email and see when that email comes in and see what that happens. Okay, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to now get the data from the fields. Okay, all right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to actually print out what the is being submitted, just so you guys can see that it's being submitted and this page is working. So now we're going to come back over here, we're going to refresh this page, and we're going to say your full name, and I'm going to say Joshua Herbison, and my email address, joshuaherbison@gmail.com, and we're going to hit submit information. Now, what that did is it took us to that process index.php page, and it's showing us what's being submitted through the post method. Okay, so we've got your name, your email address, and then the submit button. Okay, so what we want to do on our process page here is now we want to get each field, and we want to specifically say each field so that for security purposes. All right, so the first one we're going to do is we're going to say Y name, your name. We're going to shorten it to just Y name. You could do camel case if you wanted to, where it's a capital N. You could do an underscore name, Y name, however you want to do it. Okay, Y underscore name, we'll leave it with that. And then we're going to sanitize text field. Okay, now what that sanitized text field does is it says, oh, you're submitting to a text field. So that's a function that is inside of WordPress that will clean out HTML tags and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna make another video about sanitizing your data and escaping your data and stuff like that. I usually don't use these functions in the examples that I create because it's just longer videos. But in this one, I do want to say sanitize text field. And so we're going to say underscore post and your name. So that is that field, that first field here, your name. Now we could say if is set your name, then Y name is equal to this underscore post your name. We know that no matter what, this form is going to be submitting your name, so we don't have to say is set, but it is good practice if you're building a much bigger plugin. All right, so we're going to follow our same code here and say your email is equal to, and now we can do here, we can say is email, which is another function that checks to see if it's an email. We could use sanitize email, and that's what we're going to use. So we're going to say sanitize email, and it's going to be $_post, and we're going to say your email, because again, that is what we are being submitted here. All right, so now Y name and Y email is all that we have coming through this contact form. All right, so now we can do, let's do print and some, or echo, let's do echo Y name, and then we're going to do a break here, whoops, just to give you guys an example of what it looks like, and Y email. All right, so now if we save this, we come back over here and we refresh this page. Now it's going to give us Joshua Herbison and then joshuaherbison@gmail.com. So that is our information that we're pulling out of that form submit. Okay, so now we're going to write the function that will send out an email, and we're going to email it to my business email address. All right, so we're going to do a WP_mail. Now, if you haven't watched my video about setting up an SMTP server, I'll link it here in the cards. You want to submit your email through an SMTP server. So by doing that, we use Postman, I think in the example, Postman or Gmail SMTP. So by doing that, you're submitting through an SMTP server, which is going to guarantee a lot more that your email is going to go to you or whoever you're sending it to. And so by setting that plugin up, it automatically takes over WP Mail, or does a hook for WP Mail, and sends out all mail through the SMTP server. Okay, so we're going to use WP Mail. This first variable here is going to be who we're going to send it to. So I'm just going to put in josh@ideapro.com. The next one here is going to be the subject, and this is going to be just testing form submission. Okay, this next one is going to be the actual message. So we're going to create a variable and call it message. And then that's really all we need. There's headers and attachments in some other arguments here, but we're not going to worry about those in this email. All right. So we've also talked about in a previous video the sending out emails through a template, and we take over WP Mail or hook into WP Mail and create a template for all of our emails that go out. So if you haven't watched that video, you should watch it. Okay, so now we want that message variable that we're going to pass through WP Mail here. So we're going to create it here, and we're going to say, hi. And we can do a break here. Actually, we're not going to worry about a break in this one because you have to watch that template video. So we're going to say, the following information has been submitted. Okay, and so then we can do message dot equals, and we can say name, let's say name dot, and we're going to call in y name dot, and then we're going to put a break after this. If you're not sending an HTML email, the break is going to not work, as it'll just say, it'll just have this code here, right? We're actually going to put in a couple of breaks here. So, and then we're going to do another one for email, and we're going to change this variable to y email. All right, so that's basically all we need to send that information to an email address. So now we can actually refresh this page and it's going to resubmit, or we could go back to the first page or the front page, resubmit that information, and it would work too. So we're going to hit resubmit here. All right, so it took a little bit longer on that one because it is actually pulling that information. And where is my email? All right, so let's pull up this email here. All right, and this is company name or logo. This is that template video that I made that was talking about taking over WP Mail or hooking into it. But here is the email that we actually received. And it says, hi, the following information has been submitted. Name, Joshua Herbison, email, joshuaherbison@gmail.com. All right, so that shows you that that part is working. Now we're on this blank page. So now we need to go to our pages here. We need to see if we have a thank you page, and we do. Here's our thank you page, and we can come in here and it says, thank you for submitting your information. So we can actually copy the URL here, and we can come back over to our code, and we can come down here and say WP redirect. And this is a redirect function within inside of WordPress. And then inside of these brackets, we can just put in that full URL without opens in a new tab, because that's what copied from there. And we're going to take out this last slash here. And the reason it does that is sometimes it adds extra code at the end of it. But if we just say ideapro.io/thank you and leave out that last slash, WordPress will correct that information. Okay, so now we're going to come back to our page here. We're going to go back to the front page, and we're going to refresh that page just so we have the newest information. So we're going to say Tim Johnson. I have no idea who that is. timjohnson@gmail.com. I'm sure that's someone's actual email address, and I'm sorry if it is. And so then now we're going to submit our information, and it's going to go to that processed index.php page, and then once it processes that information, it's then going to redirect us to the thank you page. So that's what it's done here, is it's redirected us to the thank you page, and it says thank you for submitting your information. Okay, so now if we hit refresh on this page, it's just going to refresh the thank you page. So users can't, resubmit that information. If they hit back and resubmit, then that's another story. But so now we've got that user on that thank you page, and we can do anything from there that we need to do. So that keeps it from being able to resubmit. Now you could do that back to the original page that you wanted, that you had the user on. For analytic data, you most of the time want them to go to a thank you page. That way in your analytics, you can see how many people have submitted information and went to that thank you page. It's kind of the follow of the flow. But you could actually say, redirect back to the same page and then pop up a notification through like a session or something like that that says, thank you for submitting your information, right? So that's all I have for this video. Like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed so I can make more videos in the future. I'm going to do another video that is an Ajax submit. That way they never even leave the page. They just submit the information. They stay on the same page and then it pops up a notification. It works the same way. We use a process kind of index.php page, but it submits it through Ajax so that the user doesn't get submitted to a page and then redirect back to another page or a thank you page. Okay. Again, whenever you're doing it through Ajax, it's a little bit more difficult to track that information because you don't know where that user submitted unless in the Ajax call you direct them to a thank you page. And so that's actually what we're going to do in the video is we're going to capture that information through an Ajax call. Once it comes back and says that that information is processed, then we're going to direct them to a thank you page so that we still track that that form has been submitted. Okay. So again, thank you guys. Look forward to seeing you next time.